But here's the thing, it's not true. You shouldn't believe that about yourself. Not because, we should all just sit around and hold hands and talk about how great and wonderful we are, but because putting yourself down like that is not true. It doesn't coincide with the universe. It doesn't coincide with objective reality. And it's supposedly I beat my head on the wall because no one listens to it, but it's because it affects how you live your life, how you're going to go through it. Things are not as bad as they seem, because if they seem bad, it's because we're hyper focused on the bad. We doom scroll. We see how negative everything is. We see, the world's terrible. The world's this. The world's that. The world is just the world. It's the way it's always been. People have always managed to find a way through it, and so can you. And if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, not me, you're just wrong. Like, it doesn't coincide with reality. Can you? Yes. But what do you have to do? Well, everything that you can. First, there's a solution. There's always a solution. Anytime something seems homeless, anytime something seems hopeless, there's always a solution. You've just got to find it. So hope is there, I suppose, but it is a last resort after you have done everything that you possibly can. And you won't do everything you possibly can unless you believe that there's a value in it, which means you have to believe that things can be better. You have to believe that you can turn things around. And you can. You just have to find a way. So commit yourself to that. In anything that you're doing, find a way. There's always a way. Always a way. Anyway, that's a good question to ask in reality. Oh man, what else is there for me to do? And to actually look around for what that thing is. And the answer might be nothing. You've done everything you can do. Or better yet, maybe you've done everything that you should do. Maybe sometimes in situations there's more you can do, but you shouldn't do those things. Like if you've got somebody and you're reaching out to them and reaching out to them and reaching out to them, could you reach out to them again? Yeah, you could do more, but should you do it one more time? What kind what are you establishing when you are the person who's constantly reaching out to the other person? And I don't just mean like they're very busy and then you get a hold of them, but I mean like they ignore you. So, I don't know. Others. That goes back to what we're saying about Ariana's thing. That it's a question to ask yourself, what more can I do? If you're in a moment of despair, it's a good question. What more can I do? Can I do more? Yes, of course you can do more. Or maybe, no, there's nothing else I can do. It's that hopelessness that we feel like we can't do anything. Things can't get better. There's nothing that can turn around. That's the despair, man. That's the hopelessness. As soon as you start to answer this question of like, what can I do? And you ask it rhetorically, like to assume that there's nothing you can do, well then you're lost. Now, I can't tell you how often people ask me that question, like, what am I supposed to do? And there's a lot of options available to them. It's like we're waiting to be told, because first off, in order to answer that question in an affirmative way, you've got to believe that there is something that you can do. If you don't think there's something that you can do, well then you're not going to. If you don't think that there's any purpose, if you think that I'll never get this job, well then you won't even ever apply for it. Maybe you won't get the job, maybe you will. But if you convince yourself that there's no hope for it, well then there's no reason to try to work past it. It's one of those we get so much doom scrolling right now. We're constantly being told how terrible everything is and how there's no opportunity. I was just listening to something on the way in this morning and just shaking my head and just thinking, wow. I don't know any other word to say except for just wow. There's a woman named Joy Reid. If you've ever heard of her before. She was until very recently, she was an anchor on, I think it was MSNBC. She earns $3 million a year. $3 million a year to be on television and to read a teleprompter. And I was listening to her give a talk where she's complaining about how the United States, she's dumping on the US and saying that there's no opportunity here. Where people think, they trick you into thinking that there's opportunity. Her parents lived in Congo. You know where Congo is? It's in Central Africa. The average income in Congo is $450 a year. Her parents moved from Congo to the United States. Her father was able to get some grants and scholarships. He went to university, got a university degree, and became an engineer. This is a guy who moved from a place where he would have been making $450 a year, comes here, gets that job, and then his daughter, first generation, is earning $3 million a year and is on television. Do you think this is an accurate statement when she says there's no opportunity here? No.
If you're making $3 million, that's it.
That's pretty decent. It's not bad. Yeah. If my math is correct, it's about 7,000 times the amount that she would have expected to have made if she had stayed in Congo. Now, are there problems in the United States? Of course. Are there problems? Can you name anywhere in the world there aren't problems? So what? Any fifth grader can point the finger and say, there's a problem. They're good at that. Understanding that this might be the best of something is the hard part. In other words, there are problems, but can you imagine a place where there aren't any? Can we solve the problems? Perhaps, if you believe you can. If we sit here and just go, nope, no opportunity, nothing I can do, and your hands go in your pockets, sorry. Both hands go in your pockets, that means your hands are not available to get to work, to take advantage of opportunities, to find them. If you believe that there are no opportunities, if one hits you right in the forehead, you won't even notice it. It's kind of like what I was saying earlier about Carl Jung and Freud. Freud's a materialist. So if there's some kind of a spiritual explanation for psychology, Freud would never notice it. He couldn't notice it because he's so committed to being a materialist. If the whole of psychology is just biologically oriented, then Carl Jung would never notice it because he's looking for the metaphysical, the spiritual out there. So he would never notice it because he would assume something that's not true. And if we assume that there's no opportunities, if we assume that things are bad, if we assume that the only way to make our school viral is to throw a trash can, then that's all going to be true. Or to fail a backflip after making a shot. Seriously, man. And we look at it. I mean, I had yesterday. Oh, I probably shouldn't say it, but I will. I was at the gym yesterday, and when there was a guy at the gym, and he said, "He's like, you teach us Sweetwater?" I go, "Yeah." Someone overheard me, and he goes, "Oh man, he's like, your school is ghetto as fuck." I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah," and because he was talking about the video. He knew Sweetwater because of the trash can. Yeah, and so I got a hold of him and I choked him after, when we were rolling, and he's not very good. And so I didn't let go until he passed out. He's like tapping, all of a sudden just tap goes away. And I let go and go, oh, snap. Grab his feet, lift his feet up. And I'm like, bro, you got to tap. He's like, I was. I go, I didn't feel you, dude. And he just goes, and he's like trying to get his senses back about him. I go, maybe it's because I'm just too ghetto. And it's like that one moment as he's coming back to a reality that he starts to kind of maybe at that point realize, maybe I shouldn't have said it that way, you know? But then again, I guess what did I prove when I did that? Nothing good. Overly emotional. Of course I am. Duh, I'm an artist. I will bully people to get back at them. Of course. We all learned a lot about. Me and him both learned about Scanlon yesterday. It wasn't the right thing to do. But if that's what you're looking for, then that's what you're going to see. If you're looking for only the negativity, that's what you're going to see. And now here's my question. What great things have we done here at this school? What great things have individuals at this school? Now, I'm not talking back in the 80s, I'm not talking about back in the 90s, I'm talking about right now, 2025. Now, I'm going to bet that most of us in here come up blank. But there's a lot. There is a lot. We just don't notice it. We just don't see it. And if your view is that I come from a place that has no accomplishments except the throwing of a trash can and a failed backflip, that's going to affect how you think that you can move through the world. Oh, I can't get that thing. Why not? Because, look where I come from. Look at, we had a trash can, that was great, but, starting my own business, whatever. None of that's for me. That's for other people. As soon as you believe that about yourself, then you're not gonna try. But here's the thing, it's not true. You shouldn't believe that about yourself. Not because, we should all just sit around and hold hands and talk about how great and wonderful we are, but because putting yourself down like that is not true. It doesn't coincide with the universe. It doesn't coincide with objective reality. It's I beat my head on the wall because no one listens to it, but it's because it affects how you live your life, how you're going to go through it. Things are not as bad as they seem. Because if they seem bad, it's because we're hyper-focused on the bad. We doom scroll. We see how negative everything is. We see, oh, the world's terrible. The world's this, the world's that. The world is just the world. It's the way it's always been. People have always managed to find a way through it, and so can you. And if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, well, not me, you're just wrong. Like, it doesn't coincide with reality. Can you? Yes. Yes. But what do you have to do? Well, everything that you can first. There's a solution. There's always a solution. Anytime something seems homeless, anytime something seems hopeless, there's always a solution. You've just got to find it. And you have to believe that there is one. And when it turns out there isn't one, that's when you should be surprised. Turns out there was no solution to this. That's weird. Because there's always one. Because I say the rules, I don't want to get into the rules, but you have to believe in yourself. Not because you're great and wonderful and spectacular right now, but because you could be. I look at, it's one of those things as a teacher, and you've done this long enough, I'm almost never surprised by how people turn out. You look around the room and you can see it. You see the personalities emerge. There's a zeitgeist almost. I'm not picking on anybody right now, but understand what I mean when I say this. There's a lot of black in here right now. If you look around this room, there's a lot of dark colors in here. Hasn't always been so. I've been here long enough to remember when all of a sudden, after COVID, all the things, everybody started wearing more and more and more black. Why? Because it reflects how we feel about ourselves. It reflects how we feel about the world. And we might say like, no, I just like the color. Yeah, but if I ask people, what's your favorite color? Very rarely do we ever just say black. There are some people who say, I like black until they find something darker. Then I'll like that color more. And I'm not saying just because you're wearing black, that means you're negative. I'm not saying that at all, although I know people are going to hear that. What I'm saying is that look around the school. Don't you think that look around the fight video. There's a lot of black puffy jackets in the background, man. And I'm not saying that this is anything wrong with that. I'm not saying it's a bad style. I know people are going to hear that. What I'm saying is that these things reflect how we feel about the environment around us. Are we seeing the opportunities? Are we seeing the colors of beauty? Or are we just kind of convinced that everything is just so bad? And if you think everything is so bad, I don't know what to tell you, except that you're wrong. You're just wrong about that. There are bad things, but man, you could be one of the really great things in all that badness. And what you're going to be surprised to find is that there are lots of other people like you as well. And you start to attract that kind of thing. And so hope is there, I suppose, but it is a last resort after you have done everything that you possibly can. And you won't do everything you possibly can unless you believe that there's a value in it, which means you have to believe that things can be better. You have to believe that you can turn things around. And you can. You just have to find a way. So commit yourself to that. In anything that you're doing, find a way. There's always a way. Always a way. Was it a few weeks ago? I can't remember what it was. Oh yeah, I remember when we voted last semester back in December about whether or not to pass that student. Remember my 10th grader?
Yeah.
It wasn't I think it was in this class, and you guys didn't vote my way. And I was like shocked by this. I'm like, is this how it feels when things don't go your way? No, remember that? It was weird for him. Like, is this how people feel sometimes? Because things don't go their way? Because I'm just so used to everything going my way. And I was more like, time to go reassess. I quickly reassessed, and I realized the problem was with all of you, not with me, of course. Yeah, definitely. But I forgive you, because you're still learning. But maybe that's the attitude that should emerge when there is no solution. Wow, there's no solution. That's amazing. But don't jump to that conclusion. Find a way. Find a way. Your life depends on it. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Yes.
Black isn't a color.
I know.
It's a shade.
I know. Well, actually, I know.